Hey everyone, Corvus here. Welcome to this video on filling gaps using Milliput. This has been my preferred technique to fill small gaps on miniatures for many years, and now the time has finally come to show you this technique in a video. Most of you will probably be familiar with green stuff to fill gaps, but I think it's a lot harder to get this right. Milliput is a lot easier to apply, as you will see in this video. So similar to green stuff, Milliput is also a two-component putty, and as it says on the back, it's very responsive to water, and I think that's especially what makes it so easy to apply, as I will show you in this video. So Milliput comes in a couple of editions, so to speak. This is the super fine white. It's a bit more expensive than the other variants, but since we're going to use this putty to fill small gaps on small miniatures, I don't think there's a reason to go for any other variant, but I will link to the superfine white Milliput and also the other variants in the video description, so you can check this out and make an informed decision before buying one of those different variants. So we got the Milliput. What else do we got? Of course the miniature. Then there's some kind of a sculpting tool. You can have a tool like this. I think this is a very all-round tool. In the past I've been using a very small flathead screwdriver. So there are of course many household items that can serve the purpose of a sculpting tool, but you have something like this. This is a multi-purpose one. It has two sides. I like this round bit, and then this one is also easy to cut off small pieces of the Milliput, as you will see me do in just a minute. Then I have just some regular water. This is the rubber bottle I use to tin my paints, and then a bit of paper towel. And what I'm just thinking about is a palette like this, just to put a small amount of water in there, as this will come in handy smoothing the Milliput and cleaning the tools afterwards. And also some kind of a flat surface. I use this baking paper. You can use tin foil or a piece of glass I also used in the past, just to put the Milliput on while mixing it. And if you're going to do this directly on a cutting mat, for example, yeah, it's going to be hard to get that off when you're finally done. So first step is mixing the Milliput. As you can see, I've been using this for quite a while, and it's also a question that you see popping up quite often is what is the shelf life of this unmixed, of course. Well, I can say this, I think this is at least 5 years old, that there is a shelf life. It's not noted on the package or something, but it's hard to see on camera, but the outsides of this are getting a bit dry. So if we're getting a piece of this white, I'll probably just go a bit more on the inside, as you've seen me doing here previously. But by any means, keep those plastics tightly sealed if you're not using it. This is the other yellow part, and as with green stuff, there's one side that's a bit more sticky and another side that's a bit more firm. This is the firmer one, this is the sticky bit, so you can play with this if you want a bit firmer Milliput. You can put a bit more of the white in there. So I'm just going to get some equal parts. You don't need that much. So that's the white part, and then yellow part. Yeah, it does not have to be 100%, just try to eyeball it. I think this is, it's pretty okay. Okay, now start mixing, and this is an advice I want to give you. Just take your time to mix everything up very well. What I do is I just make a sausage like this, make it a bit longer. This is now broken, it's okay. The consistency will change while you're mixing this up. So make a sausage like this, fold it in half, twist it. As you can see, the sausage, I can make it a bit longer now without breaking. Again, fold it, twist it like this, and just keep on doing this. So I think that's about enough of mixing. You can see the Milliput sticking to my fingers. In fact, on the back of the package it has this irritant sign. I have never experienced any problems with my skin, but of course if you're done, be sure to wash your hands thoroughly. Good, now for the miniature, as you can see here on the cloak, where it meets this front part, there's quite a big of a gap. And also on the other side, so that's something that I want to fill using the Milliput. So what is now the easiest way to approach this? First we're going to put some water here in the palette to keep handy. And also what I like to do is take my paper towel here and just put a good amount of water on one corner, because we want to keep our tools and our fingers also. When we're smoothing everything with the fingers, we want to keep our tools and our fingers wet to avoid the milliput sticking there. So yeah, just approach a problem like this one side at a time. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a very small portion of milliput here and just roll a very small sausage like this. And what I'm going to do, which sometimes works but also sometimes not, is I'm going to stick it to my sculpting tool and just position it right on the area that I want to have filled. And as you can see, it's not working out. That's what I said, that sometimes it works and sometimes it does not work. So just try to position it over the gap like this, and then gently start pushing in the material into the gap. So there's quite some material covering up the face, etc. Just don't really bother with that at this stage. You just want to have as much material as possible on the gap, covering the gap, and I'm slightly pushing this material in the gap. So we're ending up with this blob of milliput here on the gap, and that's exactly what we want at this stage. So now we're going to have to remove the excess milliput from this area. So first I'm going to clean my tool using this moist piece of paper towel, and at this point we're going to remove it and smooth it at the same time. So it's important that you keep your tools wet. So I'm going to use the sharp side of this sculpting tool. Also, there's a bit too much water on there, so what I usually do is just put it on my finger like this. If it was just as it was a paintbrush. And now I'm going to again gently push it in here, and at the same time going to try to scrape off the excess. And you just have to be sure that you don't put your sculpting tool directly into the gap and create a recess. You really want to move over the gap. So I have to pay extra attention here to this area where there's some milliput gone into this facial area. Keep on smoothing this. As you can see, there's also milliput in the folds of this. It's also not what we want in the end, but right now it's okay. Again, keeping the tools wet. As you can see, I'm already working, cleaning up the folds. And there's especially a large part of milliput on this side, so I'm going to try to gently remove this. And just keep working to smooth this area and remove as much of the excess milliput as possible. Get a bit of the shape of the folds into the milliput here. So what you can also do, but this is a bit difficult with this miniature, is just put some water on your finger, not too much, and simply put your finger on here and push to smooth it. See, it's partially working, but I cannot reach the entire area. But this is a very easy technique, and this makes working with milliput, in my opinion, especially for filling gaps, makes it a lot easier than working with green stuff. So I now smooth this out. I think the gap is really well filled, so I'm just going to go one more time over the filled area to simulate these folds. So that's the final result for this side. I think it looks pretty okay. Now we're going to move on to the other side in a similar fashion. that's the gap on the other side filled. So we're done with this miniature, and when this is primed and painted, you'll never know that there's been a big gap here on the top of this cloak here. So that's all for this video. Please remember to check the video description where I'll put a link to where I usually buy my superfine white Milliput as well as other similar putties and materials. So please check out those links. Also please remember to press that like button if you like the video, really helps out this video and the channel, and please consider becoming a subscriber if you haven't done so already. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.